On the planet Xeron, in the middle of the black wasteland stood a sword stuck deep in stone. It was massive, taller than most aliens, wider than any blade ever made. Its metal shimmered strangely, like stars trapped inside. The sword had no name, but the aliens called it the Soul Cutter. For over 2,000 years, alien tribes, warriors, kings, and even machines had tried to lift the sword. They came with strength, with magic, with science. Some prayed, others cursed, but the sword never moved, not even a little. Legends said, only, the chosen one from another world shall lift the blade, but no one believed that. Many alien races ruled the galaxy. They were strong, ancient, and proud. Why would a being from another world, a human, be the one? The Sarnax, the current rulers of Xeron, turned the sword into a test. Every 5 years they held the right of the blade, a ceremony where the strongest aliens tried to pull the sword from the stone. The event was huge. Thousands watched. It was a symbol of power and failure. This year, the arena was packed again. A massive alien named Trogoth the Bonebreaker stepped forward. 8 arms, red skin, muscles like metal. He had crushed enemies on 10 planets. He roared and grabbed the sword with all his strength. Nothing. The sword didn't move. He screamed and pulled again. Veins popped. Ground cracked. Still nothing. Trogoth fell to his knees. The crowd was silent. The sword did not choose him. Another alien tried. Then another. A dozen more. All failed. The high priest of Sarnax walked forward. His golden armor shimmered. He lifted his staff and spoke to the crowd. The blade waits. The stars speak of a stranger, one not from our blood. But he is not here. The sword will remain silent. The crowd slowly left. Some were angry, others disappointed. The sword remained in silence, unmoving, cold, far away. In space, a small ship was flying toward Xeron. Inside was a human named Jack Harper. He was not a hero. He was an engineer working for a mining company. His mission was simple: deliver parts, check machines, and leave. He wasn't strong. He wasn't special. Just smart and curious. But fate had other plans. His ship hit something strange near Xeron. A sudden energy surge. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Jack struggled to control the ship. Come on, don't die on me now. The ship spun. Systems failed. The engine exploded. Jack crashed. The next day, aliens found the wreck in the wasteland. Jack was alive, but barely. They dragged him to a camp. He woke up in chains. A small alien with sharp teeth and glowing eyes stared at him. You are human? Yeah, Jack groaned. What gave it away? The alien growled. Others whispered. The sword? The prophecy. Is it true? Jack didn't understand. They gave him water, fixed his wounds, but kept him under watch. The next day, the Sarnax guards brought him to the Stone of the Blade. The high priest stood before the sword. The crowd was smaller now. No one expected anything. Touch the blade, the priest ordered. Why? Jack asked. Do it. Jack walked slowly to the sword. The stone was glowing faintly. Warm. He reached out. The moment his fingers touched the hilt, the sword hummed. The ground shook. The clouds above twisted. The sword glowed blue. The crowd gasped. Jack jumped back. What the hell was that? The high priest looked terrified. He stepped forward. The blade has awakened. The aliens stared. Whispers grew louder. Was he the one? Was this the beginning? Jack stood confused. He looked at his hand. It was still warm. I didn't lift it, he said, but it reacted. The priest looked at the sky. Then the true test will come soon. That night, Jack sat alone in a small tent. He looked out at the sword in the distance. It still glowed. He didn't believe in magic or prophecies. He fixed machines. He solved problems. But something inside him had changed. The sword had spoken to him, not with words, but with feeling. It had been waiting. and now it had seen him. The sword had awakened. The ancient glow returned. The air around the stone felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. But no one celebrated. Instead, fear spread across Xeron. The high priest of the Sarnax stood in silence, his gold robe dragging across the dirt. Behind him, alien leaders gathered. Warriors, scientists, and elders from all corners of the galaxy met in secret chambers to discuss one thing. A human touched the sword, and it responded. It was not just strange, it was dangerous. Many of the alien empires believed humans were weak, wild, and new to the stars. If this prophecy was real, and the sword truly chose a human, it would mean everything they believed was wrong, and that scared them more than war, so they made a plan. If the human is truly chosen, said General Razak of the Krell Dominion, he must prove it. Let him face our champions in the trials of strength. And if he fails, someone asked, then the sword belongs to no one, and we end this madness. The next morning, Jack Harper stood at the edge of a huge, open arena. Tall walls, massive alien guards, and banners flying in strange winds. He looked tired, confused. What is this place? Jack asked the guard beside him. This is where you die, the guard replied. Jack swallowed hard. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed from above. The high priest stood on a platform with a strange staff in hand. The sword has stirred, he said loudly. But one touch does not prove worth. The human shall face the trials of strength. If he survives, he may try to lift the blade. If he fails, the sword remains sealed forever. The crowd cheered. Aliens of all kinds shouted and waved. They wanted blood. They wanted truth. Jack didn't want either. Wait, I fight, I'm an engineer, he yelled, but it was too late. The first gate opened. From the shadows came a huge creature, 10 feet tall with glowing skin and armor made of bones. It roared, shaking the arena. Meet your first trial, the priest said. Gorath the Crusher. Jack backed up quickly. He had no weapons. No plan, but he did have something no one saw. Human instinct. As the beast charged, Jack rolled to the side. He grabbed a broken metal pole from the ground. Not much, but better than nothing. Gorath swung wildly. Jack dodged again. He ran in circles looking for anything to use. Then he noticed something. A weak point in the armor just below the creature's left arm. Gotcha. When Gorath roared again, Jack ran straight at him, ducked under the swing, and jabbed the pole into the weak spot. Sparks. A scream. Gorath fell. Silence. Then, the crowd roared in shock. The human had won. The priest narrowed his eyes. Begin the next trial. 3 more doors opened, together. This time, it wasn't one beast. It was 3 alien warriors, trained killers from different worlds. One was fast, another used mind powers, and the last had sharp energy claws. Jack's heart pounded. I can't fight them, he whispered. But then he remembered what the sword made him feel. Bravery. I don't have to fight harder, just smarter. Jack lured the fast one into a wall trap. The mind reader tried to control his thoughts, but Jack thought of pure math equations, boring and useless. The alien screamed and passed out. The last one came in fast. Jack jumped, using the falling dust to blind him. Then he grabbed a chain, swung it, and pulled the alien down. Victory again. Now the crowd wasn't cheering for blood. They were watching with awe. The priest gritted his teeth. One final trial remains. From the shadows came an alien like no other, Commander Vielra, a warrior queen with glowing silver skin, sharp eyes, and blades that moved with thought. She was not a monster. She was elegant, deadly, intelligent. I do not enjoy this, she said to Jack, but I must obey. The right. Jack nodded. Let's make it quick. The fight was fast. Too fast. Velra was better, faster, stronger. Jack was knocked down, cut, nearly broken, but at the last moment he smiled. You forgot one thing, he said, blood on his lips. "What's that?" she asked. "Humans never quit." He grabbed a small sparkstone from the ground, a mining tool he knew well. He slammed it into the metal flooring. Boom! Smoke, sparks, fire. When the dust cleared, Viola was stunned. Her blades disabled. Jack stood over her. He didn't strike. He just helped her up. "You win," she said quietly. "You earned the right." The high priest looked down, angry, silent. The sword glowed in the distance. The trials were over. And now, the human could try to lift it. Before Jack Harper ever set foot on planet Xeron, the sword had already sensed him. High above the clouds, long before his ship appeared, the blade let out a silent pulse, like a heart suddenly beating after 1,000 years of stillness. No, one noticed it. Not the guards, not the priests. But deep in the stone, the sword whispered, "He is near." 2 weeks earlier, Jack Harper was orbiting a dead planet halfway across the galaxy. He wasn't looking for ancient swords or alien legends. He was on a routine delivery, spare coils and heat rods for a mining station. He was a quiet man, not a soldier, not a hero, just an engineer. Jack loved puzzles. He believed anything broken could be fixed if you had the right tools and enough time. But on this trip, something strange happened. Just as he passed the Xeron system, his ship's navigation spun wildly. Instruments glitched. A soft, deep vibration filled the cabin like music under the skin. "That's not good," Jack muttered. He looked out the window. A massive energy storm had formed, right in his path. Jack tried to steer away, but the storm moved with him almost like it was alive. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from the control panels. Jack's hands moved fast, typing commands, rerouting power, but nothing worked. "No way this is natural," he whispered. Seconds later, everything went dark. When Jack woke up, he was on the ground. His ship was half buried in alien soil. The sky above was purple and cracked with lightning. Strange mountains floated in the air, and the sword was calling. Far away in the capital city of Xeron, the Oracle of Winds gasped in her tower. "The stars have moved. The human has arrived." Her eyes glowed white as she spoke in a trance. Her voice echoed across the temple. "He has fire but no rage. He has fear but walks forward. He will touch the sword, and the galaxy will burn or be reborn." Back in the wasteland, Jack stumbled through the dust, coughing. His ship was destroyed. He had no food, no signal, and no clue where he was. But he felt something strange, a pull, like a magnet inside his chest. He followed it. After hours of walking, he reached a cliff and looked down. There it was, a stone platform, glowing faintly. And in the middle, the sword tall, ancient, perfect. Jack didn't know what it was, but he felt something inside, a deep connection. Like he had seen this before, maybe in dreams or stories long forgotten. He took one step forward. The wind stopped. The planet went silent, and the sword pulsed. Without warning, alien guards dropped from the sky in hovercrafts, dozens of them. "Guns ready." Jack raised his hands. "Whoa. Easy. I come in peace." They surrounded him, shouting in languages he didn't understand. One of them, a blue-skinned alien with gold eyes, stepped forward. "You are human?" "Yes. Name's Jack." Crash landed. The alien didn't smile. "You're under arrest for being part of a prophecy." "A what now?" Before he could argue, they shot a stun beam. Everything went black. Jack woke up in a glowing cage deep inside. A fortress, strange lights flickered. Alien voices echoed through the halls. A young alien girl peeked through the bars. Her skin shimmered like the night sky, and her eyes held curiosity, not hate. "Is it true?" she asked softly. "What's true?" "That the sword reacted to you." I don't even know what it is, Jack replied. The girl leaned closer. Then maybe you really are the one. Moments later, the guards came. They pulled Jack from the cage and took him to the chamber of judgment. There stood the high priest, cold and proud. The sword awakened when you arrived, he said, but we do not believe in chance. You must be tested. You must survive the trials. Jack looked around at the massive crowd. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at him. He didn't know their customs. He didn't want to fight. But the strange hum in his chest returned, and far away, on the sword's ancient stone, the blade glowed again, just a little brighter than before. The sword was quiet again. It stood alone on the stone platform, buried deep in the black sands of Xeron. But something had changed. Every night since the humans' arrival, the sword began to hum softly, only for a few seconds, like it was breathing in the dark. No one could hear it, except Jack Harper. Jack had survived the trials. He had faced monsters, warriors, and alien assassins, and now the whole planet watched his every move. But Jack was not celebrating, he was dreaming. Strange dreams. Each night he saw the sword standing in the middle of a burning sky. Around it, shadows moved, not aliens, not humans. Something. Older. Voices whispered in his ear. Not words, just feelings. Loneliness, power, duty. Jack woke up each time, sweating, breathing heavy. The dreams felt more real than the world around him. He didn't understand it, but part of him didn't want to. Elsewhere in the Temple of Memory, the Oracle of Winds stood before a wall of starlight. She traced glowing lines in the air, an ancient map of the galaxy. One line blinked red. The sword is remembering, she whispered. And it is choosing. Jack sat outside the alien city, staring at the horizon. The alien girl from the cell, Sira, sat beside him. She brought him fruit. She was one of the few who didn't treat him like a threat. You've changed since the trials, she said. I feel different, Jack replied. It's like something's calling me. But it's not with sound, it's like it's inside me. Sira nodded. My grandmother told stories about the sword. Long ago it was made by the first star builders. They weren't from this galaxy, not from any galaxy. Then where? Jack asked. Sira looked at him seriously. They built it for one purpose, to find the one who could stop the Great Silence. What silence? A force beyond time, something that eats stars, whole civilizations gone. The sword was made to resist it, but it needed a living key. And you think, that's me? Jack said. I don't think. The sword does. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He walked alone to the sword, no guards, no lights. The blade glowed faintly as he approached, as if it knew. He stepped forward, and for the first time, he touched it willingly. The world around him vanished. Suddenly, Jack was floating in space. Planets burned, stars screamed, an army of darkness moved like smoke across galaxies, swallowing everything, and in the middle of it all, a light, the sword. It hovered before him, clean, ancient, alive. Why me? Jack asked aloud. I am not your weapon, the sword answered, not with a voice, but with thought. Then what are you? I am memory. I am the last stand of the builders. You are not chosen because you are human. You are chosen because you are not like them. Like who? Those who seek power, those who fear change. You move forward, even when afraid. That is what I need. You need me? No, it said. I need hope. You carry it. Jack opened his eyes. He was back on the platform, his hand still on the hilt. But now, it felt warm, familiar. The sword didn't move. Not yet. But the connection was real, and he knew. Lifting it wasn't just about strength, it was about becoming something more. At sunrise, the high priest of the Sarnax arrived with an army. Dozens of ships circled above. This ends now, the priest said. The sword will be sealed. The human will be returned to his dying planet. But before the order could be given, the sword lit up, shining like a newborn star. The ground trembled. The stone cracked, and all eyes turned to Jack. He stepped forward slowly. The whispers were no longer scary. They were guiding him, and for the first time in history, the ancient sword of Xeron rose slightly from the stone. Just a tremble. Just a breath, but it was enough. The galaxy would never be the same. A crack in the stone, a tremble in the blade. That was all it took to shake the power structure of half the galaxy. The ancient sword of Xeron, untouched for thousands of years, had moved. And it had moved for a human. News spread like fire across star systems. On 1,000 alien worlds, rulers and warriors sat in disbelief. Holoscreens replayed the moment over and over. Jack Harper stepping forward, the blade glowing under his touch, the stone breaking ever so slightly. For some, it was a miracle. For others, it was war. In the deepest chamber of the High Council of Xeron, leaders from 7 major alien races gathered. None were smiling. "We warned them," growled General Razak. "Humans are chaos. Now they think the sword belongs to them." "The blade chose him," said Queen Vielra, her silver armor reflecting the torchlight. "Or perhaps it was tricked," hissed the Sarnax's high priest. "The human must be destroyed, tonight, before it's too late," the council voted. 6-1. Kill the human before he lifts the sword again. Back at the ancient platform, Jack Harper sat alone, legs crossed, staring at the sword. The wind blew softly. The stars above were unusually still. He didn't feel like a chosen one. He felt tired, exhausted by trials, confused by visions, haunted by the sword's whispers. "What if I'm not ready?" he said aloud. "Then you must become ready," a voice replied. It was Sira, the young alien girl who had believed in him since the beginning. She sat beside him, her eyes full of worry. "They're coming for you," she said softly. "Not to test, not to question, to kill." Jack nodded. He'd already guessed. "They fear the sword will change everything," he said. "It will," Sira replied. "That's why it chose you." That night the sky opened. Black ships descended like vultures, silent and deadly. Soldiers in shadow armor marched across the sand. Their faces were hidden, but their orders were clear. Kill the human. Burn the blade if needed. Jack stood calmly. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He looked at the sword and whispered, "You're not just metal. You're something more. You've shown me what's coming." Then he turned to face the soldiers. The leader stepped forward, a towering warrior with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. "Step away from the blade, human." "Or, what?" "Or you'll die with it," Jack exhaled. "Then I guess we die together." Just as the first weapon charged, light exploded from the sword. A shockwave knocked the soldiers off their feet. The sword was still in the stone, but now its glow was blinding. Ancient symbols spun in the air around it, floating like fireflies. Suddenly, alien voices cried out, not in pain, but in fear. "The sword, it's defending him." "It hasn't done that in over 1,000 years. The soldiers hesitated, and that's when Jack made his move. He didn't fight with guns. He didn't use strength. He walked through the dust and stood tall, between the blade and the army. "You think I'm the danger? Look around you. The real danger is ignoring what's coming." They aimed at him again, but one soldier, an alien named Kellen, half machine, half flesh, lowered his weapon. "He's not the threat," Kellen said. "He's the warning." In that moment, a split began. Some soldiers stopped. Others still moved forward. The sand trembled. The sword began to hum again. Jack gripped the hilt. No more fear, no more questions, just courage. He pulled. The stone cracked wide open, the sword rose 3 inches, and time seemed to stop. In the sky, far above the battle, an ancient satellite blinked, to life for the first time in millennia. It sent out a single signal. The key has been found. The war hadn't begun yet, but the blade had been awakened, and so had the human who dared to touch it. The entire galaxy paused. War fleets stopped. Moving. Alien leaders froze mid-command. Priests of forgotten gods fell to their knees. Because across the stars, one message echoed from the ancient satellite, buried in the ruins of time. The key has been found. And all eyes turned to one place, Xeron, where a human stood before. The oldest weapon never raised, and the sword had started to rise. Jack Harper stood at the edge of history. The ancient blade hummed in his hand. It was only a few inches out of the stone, but already the world was changing. The sky above glowed brighter. The platform trembled beneath his feet. Even the winds had gone silent, like the planet itself was watching. He was not a warrior, not a prince, not a chosen hero with bloodlines or blessings. He was just Jack. But in this moment he felt everything the sword had shown him. The burning stars, the vanishing worlds, the coming darkness, and the truth that echoed louder than fear. If you can lift me, you can lead them. Behind him, alien. Guards gathered, some raised weapons, some fell to their knees, and others, they simply watched, hearts caught between old fear and new hope. Among them stood Queen Valra, her face unreadable. If he lifts it, she whispered, then our age ends and his begins. Jack closed his eyes. The sword was more than metal now. It was memories, voices, burdens of lost civilizations. It felt like it weighed the same as a galaxy, but not in his hand, in his heart. He thought of Earth, of the small apartment he left behind, of the books he read about heroes, never thinking he'd be one. He thought of Sierra's words. It chose you not because you're strong, but because you're willing. He opened his eyes. The blade glowed brighter, and with both hands he pulled. A crack ran through the stone platform. The earth beneath rumbled. From orbit, ships recorded seismic waves spreading from the sword's location, echoing through the planet's crust. On distant worlds, children woke from dreams they couldn't understand. Across species, across galaxies, something ancient had stirred. The sword rose. Inch by inch, Jack's arms shook. His vision blurred. But he didn't stop, because for the first time in his life he wasn't just fixing a machine, he was fixing a legacy. And then it came free, clean, bright, whole. The sword lifted high into the air, glowing like a newborn sun. It didn't fall heavy. It floated, weightless, pulsing with power. The runes along its edge lit up one by one. The wind returned, but it didn't. Howl, it sang. A song no one had heard for 10,000 years. The song of the builders. Jack stood still, sword in hand. His face lit by its blue glow. The galaxy held its breath, and then the sword spoke through him. His voice echoed louder than the sky. This world is no longer silent. The light has returned. The true war begins. From the horizon, a shadow emerged, massive, cold, blacker than space itself. It had no ships, no form, just endless dark energy that bent light and cracked sound. The thing the builders feared, the eater of stars. It had sensed the sword, and now it was coming. Sierra ran to. Jack sighed. You did it, she whispered. No, Jack said quietly, gripping the sword tighter. Now we start. The sword had risen, the human had lifted it, and now the darkness was coming. Not a creature, not a ship, but a force. The eater of stars. A silent, cold storm that erased entire galaxies, leaving behind only dust and forgotten names. It had no mercy, no face, only hunger. For thousands of years it had been sleeping, waiting, but the sword had awakened, and so had it. High above Xeron, the sky split open, not with lightning or fire, but with void. The stars bent. Lights dimmed. The black shape crawled across the atmosphere like ink in water. Panic spread fast. Alien leaders screamed orders. Battleships prepared to fire. But nothing they did mattered. Their missiles faded into the dark. Their shields collapsed. Before impact, their machines shut down without warning. And still, the shadow crept closer. On the sacred stone, Jack Harper stood with the sword glowing in his hands. He didn't run. He didn't hide. Because deep in his mind, the sword was speaking. Now you understand. Understand what? Jack asked. That I was never made to destroy, I was made to choose. Choose what? A heart, a soul, a voice strong enough to command the light when all else is dark. Sierra stood beside him, her eyes wide with fear. Jack, that thing, it's unstoppable. Maybe, but maybe we've been trying to stop it the wrong way. What do you mean? Jack looked at the sword, then at the sky. Then he whispered, what if the sword isn't a weapon, but a message? The sword pulsed again, brighter than ever. A beam of light shot upward from the blade, slicing the sky in half. And from that light came voices, not words, but memories, images, billions of them, planets, people, laughter, music, first steps, first loves, dreams, peace. Everything that made life, life. The sword wasn't meant to fight the Eater of Stars. It was meant to remind it. Because long, long ago, the Eater had not been a monster. It was once a guardian, a protector of stars. Until it forgot what it was meant to protect, until it consumed everything, including its own purpose. Jack felt the weight of it all. I see it now, he whispered. You weren't calling for a warrior. You were calling for a witness. The sword pulsed in agreement. Show the darkness what it has forgotten. And so Jack raised the sword high. The light spread, not as fire, not as war, but as memory. It reached the Eater's shadow, touched it, and for a moment, the galaxy paused. Then, something impossible happened. The dark clouds stopped moving. They shivered, flickered, and then they began to pull back, slowly, like a sleeping god remembering its name. Across the galaxy, dying stars reignited. Long-lost signals from extinct civilizations came alive. The builders, those who made the sword, were gone, but their hope had survived, in a human who never asked to be chosen. Jack fell to his knees, the sword now quiet in his hands. Tears ran down his face, not from pain, but from understanding. Sierra caught him. Is it over? She asked. Jack looked up at the returning stars. No, he smiled weakly. It's just beginning. In the years that followed, the sword was placed in a new temple, not as a weapon, but as a reminder that sometimes the smallest voice can echo louder than the greatest army, and that in a universe full of monsters, sometimes what it takes to save it is just one human heart brave enough to listen.